Yo, it's Staten Island Super. I just wanted to, I'm bundled up. It's cold. I know I'm visiting Florida right now, but like it's stupid cold, yo. I when I was driving down, I left New York, hit Maryland. Maryland was hot all of a sudden, and then boom, I'm in New York, and now, I mean, I called it New York. I'm with my family, but I'm in Florida, and it's cold, bro. It's cold down here right now. But I ain't in South Florida though. I'm in North Florida, so kind of makes sense. But shit, it's still wild for Florida. Um, anyway, so I just want to do a trades talk. So I'm doing a little trades talk with Staten Island Super today. So a few days ago, I was catching up on the way down actually here. One of my old homies back from Long Island, he was calling me. I picked up. I ain't even spoken to him in years, and so we chopping it up, catching up each other on each other's lives. He doing a lot right now. He doing some cool stuff, and like I guess it's mostly in the works, so I don't want to drop it on here yet. You know what I'm saying? But like he got some stuff going on, and proud of him. Really proud of him. But so we was catching it up each other on each other's lives, like what we got going on. And he was like, "Oh, you a super in Staten Island now?" He was like, "Yo, how you get a job like that?" And I was like, it's like I kind of broke it down to him. I've been in a lot of fields. I'm not gonna go into everything that I've done, but my first real career was in the trades. I was an automotive mechanic. But I had when I left automotive and heavy equipment mechanic, I had worked in IT for a few years, and then I lost my job in IT, and I was back in Mount Vernon at the time, and what's it called? My landlord there, he was like, I told him like, yo, like I ain't gonna be able to pay. Like, he was like, you know what? He was like, I need a super right now. He was like, you be my super? I was like, sure, whatever you need, I got you. It was like, I ain't no genius, but I know a little something. He was like, yeah, I see you be working on your bikes and shit. Like, and I was like, yeah, I used to be a mechanic. He was like, okay, well, you'll be able to figure shit out then if you handy. So, he put me to work. I started learning some shit, but, it was just a multi-family. It wasn't no like big apartment. So it was like, he's still looking for some money. So, I ended up getting me a job. I got me a job doing facilities maintenance, and facilities maintenance plus being a super at the small apartment, the 6 family building was how I really got into the trades, the building trades, I'm gonna call them, because I was in automotive and heavy equipment before. But so he was asking me how I got in it. And, with being the building super, I was, working on the boiler, troubleshooting it, mostly the hydronic systems. Very rarely would there be a hot water issue. Upkeeping, maintenance, taking care of the building, whatever, whatever needed to be done. I did. And so it wasn't much at the apartment, but when I was working, I worked at a facility with many buildings, and I did a lot there. I didn't do everything, obviously, because when you're building maintenance, you kind of, you do to a certain point. Then when it comes time for the specialist to come in, the specialist come in. But when you build maintenance, you get to work on a lot of shit. I was working on hydronic system, boilers, furnaces, small AC units. I was wiring. I was wiring control board, doing thermostat wiring, just off the fly. My boss like, yo, can you do this? And I'm like, I ain't never done it before, but I guess I'll figure it out. He's like, cool. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that going on, and I learned a lot in my time at the facility, which I won't name. But I learned a lot there, and it was dope. And we had plumbers on site there, and one of them was like, "Yo, why don't you get into plumbing?" And I was like, "What you mean?" And like, yo, he like broke it down. He was like, "Bro, like you only making da da da." He was like, "I'm making way more than you." And I'm like, "Word?" He was like, "All plumbers." So I honestly, when I learned that, I tried to get into plumbing. Um, I actually had a reason to be in Florida anyway, family reason to be in Florida, and I just so happened to be able to also get a job in Florida. So I got down, I was with my fam that I have down here, and I was working for a big company. Um, I'm sure you've heard of Roto-Rooter. If you haven't, well, yeah, whatever. Roto-Rooter was dope. I loved working with them. I learned so much about plumbing working with Roto-Rooter. A lot of people think, oh, with Roto-Rooter, you just do drains and drain cleaning and whatever. Nah, Roto-Rooter does everything, man. I really did a lot of stuff there. It was dope. So I learned a lot about plumbing. I already knew a decent, I already knew some basic HVAC, mostly hydronic systems though, which goes into plumbing. But yeah, so basically I had spent a few years just kind of, dibbling dabbling in the building trades, and then I really got deep with the plumbing. And so with I basically explained to my homeboy that like, with this job, I had already had a few years experience doing this kind of stuff, da da da. And, when I was, coming back to New York, also family reasons again, I need to be back in New York. Um, I really I don't have family in Staten, but now that I'm here, I must say, yo, I fell in love with it. But so yeah, Staten my borough now. And but nah, for real, like like there's so many ways to get into the field. To get the job I got, um I probably could have known a bit less, maybe. I don't know. I think it helped that I have a strong plumbing background. I think it helped that I had been a building super before, even at a much smaller place. I think it helped a lot. I know it helped a lot that I worked facilities maintenance at a at a multi-building facility, because that is, which did have residents living there. So that did have, some of it was resident based and some of it was just facilities, but where I used to work. And so having that experience, I think, was the biggest thing that helped me get this job. So it was not just my experience in these various systems, it was my experience in working in a facilities capacity, but also a facilities capacity where, you have residents there. And the thing is, um, there is different types of building supers, and there's different, different companies, there's different apartments, there's different, you got affordable housing, you got whatever, like everything's different, man. Like they're all gonna be different in their own niche, they're all, gonna be different in their own way. But like you might work at a building where you got like, or a facility might be multi-building, like it might be like 5 supers. Like when I was interviewing for something, when I was needing to go back to New York, I I was like anything to be close enough to my family, because I'm moving up for my family. And when I came back, one of the places I interviewed at was in Jersey, and they had like 9 supers at the one spot. You know what I mean? So it's like every spot's different. It depends how much units they got. It depends what they got going on. It depends like how they're set up, how they, every place is going to be unique in its own way. Um, So you're gonna have multiple paths and multiple options to get into um, being a building super. Um, Now I will say um, the most important things, like top things you're gonna want to have is like somewhere you work with tenants or residents in any capacity. Somewhere you work with unit turnover is important. Like, and most importantly, something where you've previously worked with preventative maintenance. Like, I was a service plumber, but like I also did like excavations and whatever and all this. But when you're a service plumber, or maybe you're an HVAC, you do you're an HVAC service technician, maybe you're an electrician. Thing is, when you're in the trades, yeah, you might do some preventative maintenance here and there and whatever, but like when you're a facilities guy, like maybe you're a plumber at a facility, maybe you're an HVAC guy at a facility, or usually those get outsourced and you will just be like a maintenance mechanic or building super or whatever. When you work in that capacity, you really get a feel for preventative maintenance, the things you're gonna want to look out for, and stuff like that. And that is really what's going to get you primed to become a building super. So you might not get a building super job at first, but like you probably get into like a building maintenance gig like I had a few years back. I was a building super, but like, small apartment, before this. And so my other gig then was I was facilities maintenance, which was probably more similar to a building super capacity that I'm in now, because that was a huge facility. And there was unit turnover, there was maintenance of a lot of stuff in the building. I handled and dealt with mostly HVAC, hydronic systems, some of the, refrigerant type systems. We did have on-site plumbers, so the plumbing we did was very, very basic. Every now and then got to deal with a flushometer or whatever. Yeah. Or sometimes even like the residents' toilets, but like nothing serious. Maybe a sink, Sump pumps. That's another thing. When you do facilities maintenance, you learn sump pumps. You learn about stuff like that. And I did a lot of them when I was a plumber. But even just getting your hands on it as a maintenance guy, you learn it. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about. And it's not just about learning it, but it's about learning the preventative maintenance. So you're not pulling up there when it's already a tragedy like you are when you're a service technician. As a service technician, you pulling up at a tragedy. And if that's the only experience you got, you might not be primed for the job. Because, like, if I came in with the experience I had at Roto-Rooter, and just that, I probably wouldn't get the job. But the fact that I had years of like preventative maintenance experience already kind of primed me for the role. It's like, okay, I've been here before. I know about alarms. I know about, um, when FDNY is going to pull up and you're going to test something. Like, been there. And so the best way I would say to get into that is to start with something light, like building maintenance position, like maintenance mechanic, whatever the title they give you, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. I think the best thing for me about being, you know what? I got a lot of stuff and reasons why I love this, but this video is already going longer than it needs to be. Yeah, so this is when I realized that it was going to be too long for TikTok or IG, so I'm turning it into YouTube at this point. Alright, and I'm back. And so, I don't know where I was. I'm going to start this over again. No, I'm playing. Um, So yeah, like now I broke down how to get in and skills you'll need to get in. As far as resumes go, just take your skills that you developed at like a building maintenance. This thing, building maintenance, they'll take you no experience, nothing. Like, I mean, like, you know, when it says like building maintenance mechanic or like facilities maintenance mechanic or like facilities maintenance, just like that. Stuff like that, they'll take you in, no experience needed, whatever. So you get those jobs. Some of them, you know, if you do have experience, maybe they'll just pay you a bit more, you know, so you could be more of a knowledgeable cat on the team who like brings, you know, they usually have at least one of those on the squad. And, you know, those guys usually get good benefits, decent pay, you know, depends on the job. Some, you know, not everywhere is going to treat you well, but there is reasons why some people stay in that forever, even though they are smart. Because if you're good enough, you can, you know, it's a lot chiller for a lot of people. You know, it's less stress than service technician work. Um, it's stable. You know, when you a service technician, whether you're plumbing, HVAC, electrical, I don't know too much about electrical, and I don't want to speak on it, but like plumbing, HVAC for sure. A lot of it requires on, you know, busy season, slow season, like your paycheck could be all over the place, particularly Roto-Rooter, you know, over there, you making commission. So you can make good money there, but, you know, it's commission. So it's feast or famine, you know, as they say. I've never famined there. I will admit I've had only good experience with them. I really appreciate the opportunities they gave me. It was dope. But, you know, had I not had what I had going on, my family going on, who knows? But actually this becoming a super was the biggest blessing I could have even is a bigger blessing than I could have imagined. Because when I was a building super before, it was like I said, I was just working for a dude who owned like a few properties in like, you know, Lower Westchester. Um, this is different. You know what I mean? This is a blessing. This is more like the building maintenance job I had, but being a super. And this is I ain't realized how much of a blessing being a super would have been. Um, it really is. So basically, I told you how to get in. I told you, you know, different things you might need that'll help you, different skills that'll help you. As far as resume building goes, just take those skills that you developed as a maintenance mechanic or facilities maintenance cat and put that into ChatGPT or whatever AI you use. That thing will help you write a resume. I'm not going to help you write a resume because I don't do that. Don't ask me to write a resume for anybody. Maybe you know a resume guy, but GPT do a good job because like you just tell GPT, I want to write a resume for this. If it starts writing a resume for you, no. You tell GPT, here's the experience I have. Because one thing about the trades is you never want to act like you know something you don't know. Like even when I applied for this position, they asked me if I knew something specific about a specific type of boiler. I told them no. I said I do know boilers. I told them everything I know about boilers, but I told them what they're asking for is not something I'm familiar with. The big guy, he was like, no problem. You know, why is it no problem? Why? Because one thing, when you're a service technician, you can kind of get away with it a little bit more because you can be like, nah, but I'll figure it out. And you could do that in building maintenance, and you should do that. But the thing is, in building maintenance, if you're in service work and you pretend to know something you don't, you mess up. Like you're gonna have to learn anyway. You're gonna get taught. When you are the technician of the building, you not just addressing emergencies. You are the preventative maintenance guy. You mess something up, you are the reason that it failed, bro. Like it falls on you 100% when you are in the building. So whether you're going in for facilities maintenance, whatever, you know, you finally going for that super position, because you feel like you got a little enough under your belt. Cool. Don't pretend to know something you don't. Because if you don't know something and you need to know that, trust and believe if they hire you, they're going to make sure that you figure it out or get to know how to do whatever it is that you don't know. Because, and if you don't know it, maybe they want you to know it eventually. But like I said, if you're in facilities maintenance or you're a building super, if you don't know that thing and they don't have anybody on the squad that knows it, it's gonna be outsourced. That's just how working for a facility works. Like, work gets outsourced. You are not doing everything. Even if you got a team of like 4 or 5 cats, I don't think people understand, like, not one person can do everything. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it is. And so never pretend to know something you don't know. Always be open to learning, always be willing to learn, and always be learning. Um, yeah, so that's that for getting in. Now, as far as stability goes, that's the reason why I went the route of the building super. Um, Now, I could have gone into facilities maintenance again, which I don't mind. Uh, I did apply to a few just because I knew, okay, I've been there, done that, got it, Um, but depending on the company, some of the companies have great benefits. Particular some of the, larger hotels, like Marriott and them, like some of them got really good benefits. Um, I, definitely something to think about, especially if you're just getting in. Because with a hotel like that, you can get in, zero experience. You could learn and you can grow, and when you grow, your paycheck will rise, and you'll start. Like if I was young, like real young, I wish I could go back. Like if I was young, I would have, instead of being an automotive tech, I would have gone into like building maintenance at a hotel. Like, because then by now, I'd have been a tenured super and not just like a whatever super. And who knows, maybe I'd have been doing so well, I'd have moved up the ranks. I don't know what's going on at the hotels. I never worked at a hotel. I just know people that do, and I know the benefits of it. But for me, building super is where it's at. Like, especially in the New York, New Jersey area. Most of the companies, they'll pay for your housing. I mean, most of them will make you, you got to wait a few months before you get in, but they'll pay for your housing. So that's an expense paid. So even if you're making like anywhere between 40 to 60 grand a year, add another whatever your living expenses. Um, and then depending on where you're working, some of these places are nicer than where you could afford to live before anyways. So then add the actual living expense and not just whatever you was paying before, and add that up. Like that alone is, these jobs pay good, like, because they pay you a livable wage, and then most of them take care of your housing. And then there's so many benefits that being a building super has. Um, Particularly where I'm at. So a lot of these companies, they'll also pay for your education. You'll get tuition reimbursement. No, that doesn't mean you can go to Columbia University on a full ride because your company pays for tuition reimbursement. But you can go to a local CUNY or a local, whatever, and you can get you a 4 year degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might have to come a little out of pocket, but like, for the most part, most of it'll be covered. You know what I mean? Something that, like, dude. And the thing about being a building super, so like, not only do you have stability, but you also now have this opportunity to grow your education. While you're there, you can get certs, which will improve your stability and make you more valuable to the company. Like I just got 3 FDNY certs. I'm gonna get a few more. Next one I really want to get the S12 13 and the G40. That'd be dope. Because right now I just got the basic G60, F60, and S95. Like if you're a super, you should have those, especially the S95. Like S95 is like, yo, I'm a building super and I'm the only super at this building. Like S95, you should have that. I worked in building maintenance before. I didn't even know it was a cert when I was a building maintenance mechanic. But we did deal with, the fire alarms, and now I know there's a certificate. So it's funny because when I worked building maintenance, we used to log that stuff about the fire alarms, but we'd log it in the same logbook that we did our daily login. Now that I understand what S95, I'm realizing that my boss probably used to take those notes and then put it, he used to do his thing the way he had to do it, whatever. He's probably because somebody who's S95 is the one that writes in the log. Duh, makes sense now. Now that I'm certified, I understand. So yeah, he would take that, write it in the log. But if you're the only person on site, gotta have that, bro. Like solid, you need it. As a building super, you need an S95. There's a lot of other certs you can get. Like I said, next few certs I'm gonna get S13, S12, and G40. S13 and S12 is sprinkler systems and standpipe systems. Essentially, you just get to inspect them. You're not working on them, whatever. But you get a little something. And I got my EPA 608 Universal. These are all good certs to have. I got some of these before I started. It is what it is. But point is that when you go ahead and you get these certs, a lot of these companies, they'll pay for you to get them. They'll give you tuition reimbursement. The reason why I've paid for these out of pocket is because I want to use my tuition to actually get college degree. So this all lines up with the stability and your growth path. So you're stable enough to be able to pay for these certs, or you could use, the tuition reimbursement for the certs, whatever you want to do. But if they are, which a lot of these companies are paying for your housing, you might as well take advantage of that. Use that little extra money, get the certs, and you can really go ahead and then get degrees in. There's a bachelor's degree in building sciences or something like that, like building services. You can get a bachelor's degree in building services. Me personally, I want a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. I have invented something. I'm not ready to drop it yet, and I do kind of want to get to a prototype place. I don't really have the facilities to facilitate my prototype. Also, I'm not a licensed plumber, so I would need to at least work with one or under one to kind of get what I want going. Somebody who's willing to take that project on with me. I could put it in like a completely cut off environment, and then I guess I wouldn't need a license for that. But then that kind of highly changes what I'm trying to do. So with the growth path of working as a building super, if you want to be an HVAC technician one day, you can do that. You can rack up certs. I just got the EPA 608 not long ago, universal, so I can work on pretty much anything refrigerant wise. I know how to work on most boilers, so whatever the company lets me do, I can do. And with that being done. I can log hours towards, my plumbing, whatever, my plumbing licenses. I can log hours towards, HVAC experience. And when you log these hours as a building super, it definitely takes longer than if you was service guy. But you have so much benefits of stability that it's like, does it really harm you? You know, and then you have so much more opportunities for growth. So maybe your growth is a bit slower when it comes to like specific trade licensing, but you have a wider path of growth. So you can grow in every field at once. Like you can grow in HVAC, you can grow in electrical, you can grow in plumbing, which is why I love. And that's why I say, a lot of these places, they give you tuition reimbursement. What's the beauty of it? Now I can go ahead and I can take all the growth that I have in hands-on learning, in schooling, in the certs that I'm getting, and I can take that tuition reimbursement. I can go to college. And now with all the education in HVAC, plumbing, and electrical, or as they say, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, you can become an MEP engineer. So that's why I want to get a mechanical engineering degree with a minor in building services. I've never been to college, so I don't know how that goes exactly. But I imagine that's what I want to do. And I'm definitely going to check that out because I know for a fact with that, the company I work for, I will become more valuable to them. And, everybody's got different goals and different things they want to be in life. But I actually love the company I work for. I love their mission. They got a good mission and I stand behind them. So, I'm for that. And I could just, even if I don't use the degree I get, my company helped me get it. And, just having a degree will look good when when I try to get funding for the thing I invented, which I'll probably eventually drop on here online sometime. It's just a bit premature for that. And yeah, um, I don't really have much to say at this point. I feel like I gave you the rundown. Why, uh, you know, I answered the question I had of my homeboy, like, how do you get into the field? What are ways to become a building super in New York City? Um, and as far as, and that doesn't just go for New York City. It goes for Westchester and Long Island too. I don't know how it works way upstate, but yeah, like New York City, Westchester, Long Island, Jersey. This is a career in all of those places, and it's something worth looking into if you want to get into trades and you don't know what you want to do. Highly suggest you get into building maintenance. It kind of sets you up to go any path, including construction. Um, Even carpentry, masonry. Maybe not so much masonry. If anything, being a plumber outside of New York State really set you up for masonry. Like yo, plumbing here in Florida, we was breaking slab, laying concrete, we was doing a lot. Um, but yeah, yeah, man, definitely whatever you get into, and even if you go straight into service work, whatever you get into, take advantage of all the benefits you get. Learn, do not burn the bridges with the companies you work at. Um, you know, Life happens, so sometimes things don't work out. But at least be your, like, when you are on the clock and you are working for that company, be the best employee you can be, because any connections you make in the trades, even if you have to leave for whatever reason, family, you gotta move, you get, whatever happens, um, if whenever you were on the clock and you were on the job, you was doing the best damn job you could, and there's no way anybody can take that from you, then that's the best thing you can do, man. Because life ain't perfect, life is unexpected. But yeah, so for somebody like me, where I got a lot going on, yeah, building maintenance, being a building super, it, it's lit. And don't sleep on the growth paths. Is They're just too plentiful, too bountiful, too beautiful to waste. Um, I'm telling you, this job, being a building super, it can either be a stepping stone or a final destination. Just depends on how you move. So this job can be a stepping stone or a final destination. It just depends on what you want to do in your life. There's so many opportunities for growth. You can grow in it or you can grow out of it. And that's the beauty about being a building super. If you have any questions, anything that you feel like wasn't asked, or if you just want, other trades talk, I do have a lot of plumbing knowledge. I have some HVAC knowledge. And I know a little bit about electrical. And and a little bit about other stuff here and there. Patchwork and drywall and stuff like that. But that's really simple. I feel like you should know that if you're becoming a building super, you should know how to patch drywall. If you're getting into facilities maintenance, maybe you know how, maybe you don't, and maybe they don't even teach you. But you should absolutely know that. I know it sounds like whatever, some of you guys are probably like, who the fuck doesn't know how to do that? You'll be surprised. Yeah, man, but like, let this be a stepping stone. Let it be your final destination. Let it be something you grow deeper in, or let it be something you grow out of. Whatever you do, stay working, man. If you're in the trades, whether you're a plumber, HVAC, electrician, super, maintenance guy, whatever, construction worker, keep grinding, keep hustling, keep learning what you can learn. Follow other people online. A lot of people like to show their trades work. Some of us got NDAs, so we can't really show you what we doing on a daily basis. But yeah, man, like, definitely stay locked in. Stay with, there's circles out here. You can learn anything you want to learn, you can learn online damn near. Stay learning, stay hungry, stay ready. You can get in the field. And if you're already in the field, and you feel like, if you in a trade and you feel like, I'm just not, it's unstable. I got a family, I got 5 kids, I got this, I got that, whatever. It's just too much for me. It's too much feast or famine. I can't do the high highs and the low lows. Think about building maintenance. Think about becoming a super. Because these jobs, especially if you have extensive knowledge in just one trade, even as long as you know a little bit about the other trades, if you have extensive knowledge in one trade and you know a little bit about multiple trades, you are a huge asset. And especially if you're licensed, even better. I'm not licensed, but I do have extensive knowledge in plumbing. Obviously, I can learn more. You can always learn more in any trade you're in. But yeah. And always stay up to date with code. You always want to know code. At this point, I'm just rambling. All right. But if you do have any questions, you can ask us. You can ask a local super anything, or you could just hop online and you can ask Staten Island Super, and I got you. God bless. Stay up.